FNAF Fangames are pretty neat in my humble opinion. Sure, you have your pretty bad or just mediocre FNAF Fangames, but there are the good Fangames obviously. The catch is that, despite the quality of a lot of FNAF Fangames, good, meh, or bad, some vary in how much popularity and overall recognition they may have. You have your popular fan games like Candies, Pop Goes, Joy of Creation, Flumpties, Treasure Island, Day Shift, Fuckboys, etc. However, there's also a decent amount of fan games out there that are pretty good in quality, but not enough credit is given to them. A lot of the time, it's a huge shame because a lot of these fan game developers put a lot of hard work and effort into their work for FNAF fans to play and experience for themselves. That is why today, we're going to be looking at what in my personal opinion are the top 10 most underrated FNAF fan games to ever release. I'm aware I have made this video before, back in 2020, but in the form of a top 5 as opposed to a top 10. This is an extended remake of that video. What I mean by extended, obviously I'm referring to how this video will bump it from a top 5 to a top 10, just so we have more ground to cover. These fan games on the list will be in order of how underrated they are to me personally. But remember, I believe that all the fan games on this list deserve credit as, while some of these do have recognition, I feel like they do not have enough. Some additional details. Only one game per series on this list. Basically, no 2 games from the same series will be on here. Same goes for developer. I wanted to vary it up a bit. Additionally, no fan games from the original top 5 list will be on here. Without further ado, let's look at what are the 10 most underrated FNAF fan games of all time. The One Day with a Box series in general is pretty underrated. The series has a lot of comedic edge, and to be fair, it's only for a certain audience. However, I am happy to say that I'm in that audience that thinks these games are hilarious. It's very memey when it comes to its humor, but that's the charm of it. Now, why did I pick gay locations specifically? Well, for 2 reasons. The first one being that I believe that this is the funniest game in the series. I feel like with this one, they went off the wall when it came to the humor, and if you're gonna make a series that has this type of humor, go off the fucking rails. It'll be worth it. And this game was worth it. This game is genuinely hilarious from start to finish. Hell, the humor is even within the gameplay of the game. It just adds an extra mile of an insanity to it all that seriously makes me chuckle. And for the second reason why gay location stands out for me is that the gameplay, despite the mechanics being absolute jokes in concept, actually end up resulting in a very surprising but actually good, engaging, and decent gameplay loop. I'm being serious. The gameplay in this game is actually pretty fun when ignoring the comedy. You actually have to focus on stuff and actually play the game. The reason why that's really good for this game is because it creates a balance between the gameplay and the comedy. That is a huge thing about this game that I fucking respect. All in all, this game is absolute fucking bananas and I love it for that. The One Day with a Box series doesn't get much credit, especially in the category of FNAF fan games that try to be funny like Day Shift, Fuckboys, and 39. And honestly, people should lay more eyes on this series because there's a lot to it, and this game especially. Oh my god. This fan game is a remake of a classic fan game from years ago, that being Five Nights at Thomas's obviously, a FNAF fan game based off of Thomas the Tank Engine. Now I've seen enough credit be given to the original for being honestly such a comedic but still enjoyable experience. However, I feel like its remake doesn't get enough credit, and I go as far as to say that this remake is better than the original. One thing I really like about this fan game is it has admittedly pretty basic and simple mechanics of putting coal in the furnace and closing the door from Thomas, but they use this to make gameplay that surprisingly gets actively challenging as the game goes on, to the point point where you need to form actual strategy, but along the way, you also gain actual stress. I really like this because it makes what is essentially probably just a funny FNAF Fangame into an actual game that you actively need to play. Also, along with this remake, the gameplay feels much more polished and touched up. There is less ridiculous RNG I feel like in this one, which is something worth giving credit to in my humble opinion. For this remake too, the visuals are also improved and they all look pretty nice. The environment is also pretty dark, but still atmospheric. I'd say it's empty, but in a really good way. Also, Thomas himself has an original model in this remake, and not like the original game where his quote-unquote model is stripped from the show itself, and his original model in this remake looks really good. It's accurate while also making it pretty damn creepy. And now, I'll discuss the obvious that comes with this game. This game is hilarious. Why? The fucking phone calls.
Some useful information that you may be able to use is that
What
you must...
have you been? Dinner's ready.
Okay.
Hurry up before it gets cold.
Some information you may be able to use is
Hurry
that...
up before...
Silence, you old cow!
You do not talk to your mom that way.
Sorry, Mumsy, I'll be right there.
You better be.
Oh, bloody hell!
Sir Topham Hatt, or the Fat Controller as the phone guy, was already a genius idea, but having his mom come in and yell at him over shit in such a naggy voice is such a goldmine. It's easily the best part of the whole game and honestly makes this game worth the experience. Additionally, it's also pretty neat that you can switch between American mode and British mode, and that determines the accent of the phone calls as well as the terminology, similar to the actual original Thomas show. As well, there's secrets within this game like 8-bit minigames which are also pretty neat and essentially provide more content to this game. Pretty neat in all fairness. All in all, Five Nights at Thomas's Dehydrated is a cool remake to a classic that honestly improves heavily on the classic and makes the game a very enjoyable experience. For that alone, more eyes need to be on this fan game. Deservingly. This is a FNAF fan game I've recently discussed in my top 5 best FNAF fan games of 2023 video. However, I'm going to discuss it again because I personally perceive it to be both pretty good and underrated. This is a fan game created by the FNAF YouTuber Andy Matronic, and basically, for a FNAF fan game created by a YouTuber, it's a pretty solid and enjoyable experience. I love the visuals a lot. They remind me of old arcades and it plays up to those feelings extremely damn well. The sound design also helps play into that as well. It's all 8-bit and I really like it a lot. Gives 80s feelings too. I feel like additionally, the fact it's from a top-down perspective also helps with that a lot too. Again, it feels like you're at an arcade machine playing an arcade game and it's pretty damn neat. Also, any animations that are present in this game, like the one of Freddy's jump scare, is animated in such a goofy way that it's very good and fun. As well, the gameplay itself is pretty good. I just go as far as to say that it's pretty fun. Dodging enemies feels personally satisfying, as well as doing other things like collecting balloons and running from Afton. And can I just say that the inclusion of Afton is what makes this game and was overall a good choice. He's decent as an obstacle to literally run away from, and his addition is just pretty cool to see. Overall, this game is just neat. It's not that long of a game in all fairness, but it's still a quaint little experience that deserves some more credit and recognition for how competently this fan game was made for a YouTuber. It's a cool little experience that you all should definitely check out. FNAF PT is a very interesting fan game. I see nobody talk about this one at all, and I always wonder why, because I always felt like the gameplay loop was surprisingly engaging. Yeah, the mechanics themselves are simple, especially in concept, but I think it creates a fun challenge as the game progresses. I also always thought the visuals of the game were really good too because of how much it creates quite the dark atmosphere. It can be a pretty intense game to play, and I like it for that. This game always gave off FNAF 4 vibes to me, and I think this game plays it up to that really well. A lot of the ideas are introduced in this game that makes it pretty unique. Also, this game can be pretty freaky, whether that be the often insane gameplay or even small details like how sometimes the Freddy plushie can just stare at you. Dear God, I like it a lot. I don't have much else to say about this game because, to be fair, there isn't a lot. But I think the gameplay and horror and atmosphere that comes from this game is worth having people check it out and is a hidden gem among the FNAF fan games that are out there. This game is really unique. Let me get that out of the way. There's a decent amount of content within this game that makes it stand out. The minigames are really nice and quaint, and they provide what is admittedly pretty good fucking story within this game. And the gameplay within the actual nights themselves too is also pretty good and fun. However, what I personally believe to be the best part of this game is the presentation and the visuals. The presentation and visuals throughout the whole game is what makes this game very interesting and unique. And you can tell that a lot of effort was put into that very aspect of it. It's a very unique style that I wish a lot more FNAF fan games did, because this game gets it right. If you're going to create a memorable FNAF fan game, give it its own flair and style that makes it different from other fan games. That's what this fan game aimed to do, and that's why it works really well. I have not much else to say about this game if I'm honest. Nearly every aspect of it is pretty good and already worth checking out, but the presentation of the game just is the icing on the cake. I recommend this fan game a lot, and it's definitely very underrated. Five Nights at Yoshi's is a very unique FNAF fan game. Why? Well, it's drawn in basically almost the same art style as the Five Nights at Sonic's games. So because of that, you'd think the game would end up being a complete shit show. But no, this game is actually pretty damn good. First off, the art style looks refined and detailed and has actual style to it. It looks appealing. The characters are well drawn, the environments are drawn well, it genuinely looks good to look at, and I really appreciate this game for taking its time with its art style. Drawn FNAF fan games can work, One Night at Flumpty's being the biggest example, and this is another FNAF fan game that also does it well in my opinion. Additionally, the gameplay is also really fun. It was engaging throughout and even has its own quirks. It also has some story that is actually semi-interesting because it actually bothered to put effort into world building. But in general though, Five Nights at Yoshi's deserves credit and recognition for what it did to stand out from other drawn FNAF fan games. Remembering there's more that goes into a fan game, and remembering to go out with the 2D art and drawings, a hidden gem among them all. Five Nights Before Freddy's 2 is a sequel to Five Nights Before Freddy's. Both are games created by the same developer who made Five Nights with 39. Five Nights with 39 would become the most notable and popular fan game from this developer, which is unfortunate because then these two games would end up getting shafted. There's still people that enjoy these two fan games, but they still deserve recognition, especially the second game. I honestly really love Five Nights Before Freddy's 2. I feel like nearly every aspect of it is honestly pretty good. The only critique I had was that the gameplay could feel a little janky in some areas, but honestly, the gameplay is still enjoyable for its gameplay loop that has you also moving around, FNAF 4-esque. Even on later nights, the intensity rises up to where it makes you think you might end up dying. I also like the resource management with the flashlight, and I also like how your insomnia meter builds up, and you have to prevent it from doing so. It allows for a much more unique gameplay experience than just facing the animatronics, and also adds more levels of tension to the gameplay. All around, the gameplay is pretty good. The visuals are also pretty good. I like the dark atmospheric setting in the cabin in the woods, and the withered animatronic models are pretty accurate as well. Speaking of an atmospheric setting, this game can have quite the unnerving atmosphere with how there can be just plain silence and then a random bang or sound effect playing to scare you. It puts you on the edge of your seat. I love it. I also think the story of this game is well told. The developer consistently has good stories throughout his games, and this one is no exception. I think the characterization in this game is probably the best part of the story. You can feel sympathetic for Isaac, the protagonist, for the situation he's been put in, and by the end of Night 5, where his wife leaves him over his drug abuse, and then Night 6, where he falsely gets arrested for stealing the animatronics, he's a man that's forced to do whatever his blackmailer, Dominic, wants him to do, and it's honestly a pretty sad story knowing Dominic wins in the end, pretty much. Sad stories don't mean bad stories at all. If anything, it's a different tone and ending in comparison to a lot of FNAF Fangames where some stories have happy endings or just have mysterious and creepy endings. This game's story and ending go for something different, and that's something I respect a lot about it and straight up love. All in all, Five Nights Before Freddy's 2 is a hidden gem among the FNAF Fangames. I wish when more people played Five Nights with 39, the developer's other and more popular game, people would give this game a chance and see how honestly great it can be. It's a neat experience from start to finish. Mary's Arcade definitely has its own fans, but I feel like at the same time, it could have more because this game is honestly really good. The biggest thing I love about Mary's Arcade is how it goes for gameplay more than literally any aspect, even more than the story. The developer has admitted to this being the direction of the game within the GameJolt page's description, and the developer did a really good job because the gameplay is really fun. It's even really intense by Night 5. The mechanics all play with each other really well, and yet again create a really good gameplay loop that the players gotta stick with and form strategies about. I love how you have to also use your resources carefully, basically resource management, which is always a positive in a FNAF fan game. I also love how there's a character you have to frequently look for in the midst of your personal chaos with the other characters, which adds levels of tension to it. The visuals and graphics of the game are also pretty good, the character models are decent enough, and the environments provide a dark atmosphere that's neat to look at and delve yourself into. All the dirty details around the environments too also make it much more interesting. Also, this game can have its own little cool moments, like the scripted encounter with Mary on Night 3 that seriously got me when initially playing because I thought I made a mistake with her or some shit, but no. The relief when I found out it was scripted. Oh man. All in all though, Mary's Arcade is a very good FNAF fan game that deserves more recognition for its dedicated focus of gameplay over story in almost every aspect. It's a fun and enjoyable game thanks to its direction, and that alone deserves some more eyes on it. The Five Nights with Mac Tonight series is a series of fan games developed by Malret, and I would go as far as to say that the whole series is in fact underrated. However, we're not talking about the whole series on this list, and admittedly, the original versions of Mac Tonight 1 and 2 haven't held up the best. Hence why we'll only be discussing what I believe is the best game in the series, that being Mac Tonight 3. Five Nights with Mac Tonight 3 stands out to me as being a very unique FNAF fan game. Why? Well, the location of the game is the Friendship 500, also known as the McBarge, which was a real-life boat McDonald's location which has been since abandoned. So yeah, basically, this fan game is water-centric. The setting is water-based, and even the gameplay mechanics are water-based. Yep, water leaks and floodlights are used as mechanics in this one. That already makes this fan game so different from others in a really good way. It's conceptually a sound fan game. In terms of execution, it's still really good. Just like a decent amount of the games in the Matt to Night series and just fan games in general, you're thrown into a gameplay loop that always keeps you busy, especially in later nights when there's enough characters to give you a run for your money. While the gameplay is solid and is still an enticing experience to play, I feel like this game is extremely held up by the atmosphere. Like I was talking about, there's a water theme to this game because of its setting, and it does a really good job making you feel like you're out at sea in the dark. There's a lot of ambient noises, especially water-related ones like water sloshing and all that. The lighting of the office and various rooms also give off a certain eerie vibe. A lot of detail went into the environments to make this concept more believable. While the gameplay is enjoyable and usually my main focus when it comes to games and even FNAF Fangames, the atmosphere in this game shines a lot, and a lot of credit should go to this game for honestly having one of the best atmospheres in a FNAF Fangame ever. In terms of story, this Fangame is actually not even canon to the main Findings of Mac Tonight's story, so it's in its own contained little bubble, which is fine enough. The story is still pretty solid, nothing to write home about, but it's also a little interesting. In all fairness though, Mac Tonight 3 is the definition of unique. A lot of original ideas are present within this Fangame, all tying back to its water theme, which even helps out in creating some of the horror and eeriness that you experience when playing this game. It also has a solid gameplay and story under its belt too. This Fangame is another hidden gem among the sea of FNAF Fangames, no pun intended. The Web of Cogs and Oil is an extremely underrated FNAF Fangame. A lot of attention used to be put on this game for how cool and quaint it was, let's plays and reviews and such of this game being made, but after a while people kind of forgot this game existed and stopped talking about it. It's a shame too, because I genuinely think this Fangame is a really solid one that does a lot right. I've made my own Fangame review of this game before, but to basically restate what I essentially discussed in that video, I think the Web of Cogs and Oil is such a unique Fangame that stands out on its own. It's essentially a minigame collection with 4 minigames total that have you facing against one foe each. And the character selection for the 4 enemies being completely random, but I think it all fits to give some type of hellish feeling. Especially with the demon. His minigame in general gives off demonic feels and vibes. It's so well done. Every minigame in this game is in fact well done. They all each add a level of intensity which can cause further stress on the player, which can be a good challenge depending on the player's skill level. The challenge increases as it goes on, and hell, some of the minigames have a ticking time element which further exemplifies how well the gameplay is done to keep the player guessing on if they're going to win or not. All in all, the gameplay is pretty damn solid. The visuals and graphics are also all nicely done, the environments provide some chilling atmospheres, and the character models are nicely done, and are even accurate to who they are supposed to be. Especially Scrap Baby, aka the Machine, and the Pizzeria Simulator Alleyway Poster Clown, aka the Trickster. The Corpse and Demon also look pretty good too. Basically, in short, the Web of Cogs and Oils is a short but quaint little FNAF Fangame, as I've described it as before. It's a really good FNAF Fangame that I think more eyes need to be put on. The Web of Cogs and Oil is the most underrated Five Nights at Freddy's Fangame of all time. In conclusion, there's plenty of FNAF Fangames out there that are severely underrated. Some are as underrated as others, but regardless, all Fangames that look like effort was put into them deserve all the recognition and notability they can get. Fangame developers often have a passion towards FNAF and its community, and usually that passion shows within their work. It makes sense too. FNAF is a memorable series for its characters, gameplay, and lore. The fact somebody out there wanted to go out of their way to recreate what made FNAF so memorable shows what wonders a community can do and accomplish. FNAF Fangames are one of a kind. A lot of people enjoy any type of Fangame. However, all of the Fangames with good effort behind them are worth your time. If the quality is good, it's deserved. Are there bad or mediocre Fangames? Yes, of course. Are there good Fangames though? Also yes. Are there overrated Fangames? Yeah. Are there underrated Fangames? Hell yes.